he's just an actor, an infiltrator that works for Jimmy Kimmel. And he was hoping to stir things up and, try to be as ridiculous as possible in a mocking way. But you know what? As far as the segment goes, I've seen worse. They let me talk. They could have chewed me up in editing, and they didn't.
Yeah.
And they used a lot of the stuff I was talking about. I mean, they didn't go into my speech, which was weird. They showed my opening line and my closing line, but for the most part, it was it ended pretty good.
Hello, everybody. This video contains copyrighted material being used underneath the Fair Use Act to expose the fuckery. Many of you know that, maybe many of you don't know, that Robbie Davidson, Mark Sargent, and Rick Hummer gave permission, that's right, gave permission for Jimmy Kimmel to send a crew to the Flat Earth International Conference. Now, they're claiming that Jimmy said he was going to send a crew to do interviews and that they had no freaking idea that a late night show would want to do a hit piece against the Flat Earth International Conference. You're supposed to believe that. You're supposed to believe that Jimmy Kimmel does honest, in-depth interviews on his fucking show. So Robbie cleared it with Rick Hummer and Mark Sargent. You know he had to clear it with Mark Sargent, had to tell Mark Sargent that Jimmy Kimmel was coming. And they're trying to claim they had no idea that this fucking clown, Jake Bird, who's been on Jimmy Kimmel's show a number of times, was part of Jimmy Kimmel's crew. Because Jimmy Kimmel sent a cameraman, a sound guy, a producer, somebody to do the interviews. And then they brought Jake Bird. And Mark's trying to say Jake Bird was dressed up as your normal flat earther, wearing flat earth garb. So let's take a look at Jake Bird here. They're claiming Jake Bird drove up in his car. Now, you and I know a tow truck dropped this fucking car off. And mind you, Mark Sargent, Robbie Davidson, probably Rick Hummer are already there. So they can't act like they didn't see this fucking clown coming from a mile away. And he's not wearing flat earth garb. It says flat out of hell. That's mocking. That's nobody's flat earth shirt. Now let me back this up because as many of you may know, or you don't even fucking care, Russian Videos is a fucking straight up shill. And he's saying, I'll show you what Russian Vid says. But he just basically saying this is all good for flat earth. Got to take the good with the bad, as he said. Show me any good that comes from the fucking media, Russian Vids. But let me show you, he ain't doing his job now. Let me back this up. That license plate, they're showing it for a fucking reason. Because it's 33 in Chaldean. Pythagorean, it's 32. So you can't say they didn't know they were going to drop this off. Look at this clown.
I got 3 flats on the way here, so that's a sign. Let's go. Flat, 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 flat. Want to switch hats for a second?
Yeah, we can. There we go. Yeah. That's weird.
So there you go. This is what they do. They start an interview, and this fucking clown, Jake Bird, goes up and interrupts the interview and turns it into a fucking clown show. A straight up, he don't even need Jake Bird. Most of these guys are clowns. And I suspect this guy in the orange is part of the crew. Just all part of the crew. That's what the media does. They always send some guy that look fucking seriously goofy so they can mock flat earthers. All right? So, let's go on to the next clip here. This is a guy being interviewed by the Jimmy Kimmel crew. Notice Mark Sargent in the background. And now remember, up to now, they have no idea that this guy, Jake Beard, is part of the hit piece against Flat Earth and part of the Jimmy Kimmel's crew. Sorry about that. Fucking commercials. Fuck you, YouTube.
I want to wait around and see if NASA's lying to me or not. I think I already know.
They're all lies. We're tired of the scientism lies, okay? The lies that the earth is round. And my people...
And remind you, Karen B., Bob's wife, and all this, checked this guy in. And they had not a clue that he was here to mock Flat Earth. Not a clue. Had this silly looking fucking fake cast on and a shirt that says flat out of hell. And they want you to believe this nonsense.
Guy is contagious, and that, yeah, you can't eat raw chicken and play with coyotes, or if you eat too many eggs, it'll turn you into a Jewish. Or that you can drink pee, but you can't drink the pee that comes out from the pee that you drank. But wouldn't that second pee be more sterile than the first pee? We're just tired of the lies.
And they always got to get the pee in there. You know, the flat earthers drink pee. That's why this is all brought up by Patricia Steer and Antonio Subrats and the rest of the fucking clown show. That's so they can mock flat earthers. And it kind of fucking backfired because when they throw this in, they don't throw any context in like Patricia Steer saying she drinks pee. And then bring in the pee jokes. So people are kind of lost at these pee jokes anyways, but still, this was cleared by Robbie Davidson. Robbie, Rick Hummer, and Mark Sargent certainly knew this was happening and allowed it. And then, of course, later on, they got to pretend like, oh, we can't allow this to happen. We're going to kick you out. Rick Hummer knew this was going to happen, and I'll prove it to you. So, let's go to the next clip here. This is Mark Sargent. He was up there on the stage doing his speech. Mark is saying he approves of this skit by Jimmy Kimmel. Mark saying that, you know, he got all of his interview in, or most of his interview in, that Jimmy Kimmel's crew did. But that's a straight up fucking lie. Because this guy was there, Jake Bird came in and interrupted Mark too. The only thing they used of Mark was a few words of his opening speech, a few words of his closing speech, and it looked stupid. And then they told him, and then when they interviewed him out in the lobby, Jake Beard came in and interrupted the interview. That's all they showed of Mark Sargent. They didn't show any flat earth clues or proofs or anything because it was a hit piece. Let's watch.
My name is Mark Sargent, and I'm a proud flat earther. The globe is already dead. They just don't know it yet. Long live flat earth. Thank you.
Now watch this.
All right, we have time for a few questions. Yes, you.
Thank you for confronting NASA, which everyone...
So this is when they started Mark's question and answer part. And there's the bum, Rick Hummer. And Rick Hummer, it's hard to see in this video, but he's over there laughing his ass off because he knows this guy's part of Jimmy Kimmel's crew. And again, Jimmy Kimmel's crew was following this clown, Jake Beard, around the whole time. So they knew he was part of the crew. And they let him ask the first question to Mark Sargent. And you see Rick Hummer over there laughing his ass off. And I keep that in mind because they knew they got caught. I suspect they told absolutely no speakers there that they were allowing Jimmy Kimmel to send a crew. Because they knew Jimmy Kimmel was going to try and mock the very speakers they invited to speak. So I would love it to hear from Jaron, Bob, everybody else if they knew Jimmy Kimmel was invited to show up. And if you actually expected him to do honest goodness interviews to air on his show. Nobody's that fucking stupid. But these guys think you are, and that you'll believe they had no idea this was going to happen.
Everybody knows actually means not always telling truths.
Let me back that up.
Fronting NASA, which everybody knows actually means not always telling truths. My question for you is, we all know for a fact that the Earth is flat, okay?
You see Rick Hummer's smile over there.
But is there a
He's
general
laughing.
consensus as to how thick it is? Because
No.
the reason being, like, say I'm digging a hole because I got to bury a few dogs.
Right.
Am I just dropping a garbage bag of dogs into outer space?
As far as the thickness goes, when he says, oh, how thick is it? I don't know, even mainstream science, how deep is the deepest hole? 8 miles, there you go. It's like, if science can't go further than this, we don't have to either.
And there you go. Again, Jimmy Kimmel's crew is right there at this guy's end table piece, right there so they can film this whole thing. Oh, we had no idea he was part of Jimmy Kimmel's crew until he started interrupting everybody's interviews, and the crew did nothing about it. Bullshit. You've trolled Flat Earth every fucking conference. It was the first one, I forgot what it was on the first one, and then you had that other clown, Logan Paul, trolling Flat Earth. Oh, you had the media trolling Flat Earth on the first one, big time, because Robbie wants to let the media in, just so they can mock the Flat Earth community. These guys are all Masons. Mark, Robbie, Rick Hummer, I don't know who else at the top, but they're all high-ranking Masons. So there you go. And then here's Rick Hummer at the conference. Listen to this fucking nonsense. And look at this guy. He looks like a fucking bum off the streets. And you're supposed to take these people seriously. You're supposed to believe in them. They can't even fucking dress up and look professional. Look like fucking bums, all of them. The only person that looked professional was Rob Skiba. He didn't sound professional. They all look like fucking bums on a purpose. So nobody takes them seriously, and they look like a fucking joke. Like this guy up here on stage. Let's listen to him, because he had to apologize several times at the conference.
And I'm going to tell you right now, I did not know. I had no idea that Jimmy Kimmel's show was going to bring in some moron on a crutch to make us look silly.
This is easier to understand than this. And you're saying, well, that doesn't mean it's right. It's like, isn't it? Why not? We believe all sorts of things, but the public tends to lean towards the easiest explanation. It's why we text instead of no.
Gross.
And there you go. You see what they do. They start an interview. They tell this guy to come up, and I'm gonna play the next clip and let this play out. Let me just let this play out. So Mark Sargent, he comes up to Mark Sargent's interview and starts fucking with Mark. And Mark, you could tell, he knows this is going to happen. And this is all they show of Mark. But yet later on, you'll find Mark saying, hey, they played his whole interview and everything else, so he's happy with it. Happy with this nonsense. Let's keep playing this clip.
No,
Gross,
get out,
gross
get out,
flat Earth.
get out.
Gross flat Earth. Pretty flat Earth.
I know. Go.
Quick question.
No.
How can I talk to my kids about the Earth being flat when I can't legally talk to my kids? That's for a second?
Yeah, we can. There we go. Yeah. That's the way right there. That's it.
Look at us.
Yeah.
Did you have a head injury too?
No, not yet. I believe that Hitler sequestered him.
All right, so there you go. Next clip. This one here. Let me play this one. Let's watch this here.
This is
Fucking
life.
commercials.
We don't always get another shot.
this is easier to understand than this. And you say, well, that doesn't mean it's right.
I'm going to let this play out for a
Why
couple
not?
minutes.
We believe all sorts of things, but the public tends to lean towards the easiest explanation. It's why we text instead of no.
Gross,
no,
gross,
get out,
gross
get out,
round earth,
get out.
gross round earth. Pretty flat earth.
I know. Go.
Quick question.
No,
How
no.
can I talk to my kids about the earth being flat when I can't legally talk to my kids?
Doing an interview.
Oh, sorry. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. It's embarrassing.
Following them, dude. You keep getting on the side of the enemy.
Now, take a look at this right here. This is Rick Hummer. This is all set up because there's no way they're going to pick up this conversation from that far away. So Rick Hummer is mic'd, and he's got on a fucking NASA jacket. That's right. A NASA flight jacket. Let's watch.
Don't act like I'm stupid, dude.
Why would I act like you're stupid?
Now, you might be wondering why they got to blur out Rick Hummer. I'll tell you why. Because this is national TV. And a lot of people in Indiana would recognize Rick Hummer because he works for WNIT TV. He's an on-air TV personality. Rick Hummer has been in radio and media for many, many fucking years. And he was playing part of the skit here, and then they realized, oh, fuck, man, if this plays on Jimmy Kimmel, they'll recognize, hey, you guys got to block me out. So this shows you they were working with Robbie and with this fucking clown here and Mark Sargent to make sure everything was the way they want. And you see Robbie standing in the background. He can't tell me he doesn't have a fucking clue that this guy's part of Jimmy Kimmel's crew. Just keep playing.
Don't do that.
I got a quick question.
No. Oh my God. No.
Sit down. Why would the expression Daryl Hannah fell off the face of the earth exist if the earth wasn't flat?
Interviews. I've got a press conference after this.
You're nailing this, man.
Thank you.
Am I bothering you guys?
Earlier you did. You were over here smashing a ball while
I
you
know,
were
but-
doing the interview. I watched it happen with my own eyes.
Get that cane in there.
Stay out of the shot.
I was out of the shot, but are we okay?
Why is this fucking clown standing around in a fucking NASA shirt? Huh? And Robbie knows about this. But they got to do this skit and play it all out so the camera crew gets enough footage and so they can use this and say, hey, we had no fucking idea. But you could see they passed the professional courtesy along to Mr. Media, Rick Hummer, and blur him out so he isn't recognized on national TV in the state of Indiana. Like I said, he works for PBS, has for many years. He's worked for other radio stations, other good morning shows on radio, and I think even TV. You know, doing memorials for 9/11 and all that stuff on good morning shows. And that sand school and all that stuff, you know, got to make it look real. Mr. Rick Hummer, what the fuck is he bringing a NASA jacket to Flat Earth for? And he wore it specifically for this skit because they're all Masons and they're all fucking mocking you.
Listen. This
Watch
isn't
here.
about saying the earth is flat. It's about being open-minded.
Did you think this guy was a controlled opposition when he came up there and had a really stupid question about burying dogs?
I don't even know what controlled opposition.
There's Robbie again. And there's Mark Sargent. They knew this fucking clown was part of the skit. And now I suspect Robbie's going to come on because Mark spilled the beans. Robbie gave permission for Jimmy Kimmel to do this. And now Robbie's going to have to come on and fucking do damage control. You know the only good that came out of any of this is so far Robbie is not going to do another convention in 2020. Thank goodness. Hopefully he doesn't. Because these people are Masons and they're just mocking flat Earth. And they're able to get on the inside. They're actually, you know, if you went to the Flat Earth Conference, believe me, you're on a fucking list. They know everything about you now. Because you went there and you gave them your name. So, after all this, Mark Sargent went on Russian Vids. You know, Russian Vids, you might as well get a pair of fake tits, a red wig, and call yourself Patricia. Because that's what they used Russian Vids for, to do damage control. So, let's have a listen here. First off the top, you all know that David Weiss has been on CNN and InfoWars and other media recently. That's because they only used to let Mark do it, and people were seeing, you know, the problem there, that they always went to Mark. So they had to go to Karen B and a few other people, select people. So now David Weiss is getting interviews like, you know, on InfoWars and CNN. And then Russian Vids has always said CNN is you know, propaganda. Mainstream media is all programming. And anybody given the platform to speak on that media station is part of the programming. Russian Vids has preached this for years. But let's listen to this piece of shit now as they talk about David Weiss.
Like, I've been watching David Weiss, you know, from DITRH. He's been doing a lot of interviews recently, and that's because, again, the snowball.
Exactly.
You know,
I was going to mention that with David Weiss. You know, he went from, you know, doing a podcast here and there talking about like Sandy Hook, the Boston bombing and 9/11. Then he, you know, when Flat Earth happened, he jumped aboard that, and then he became very well known. And now, for example, CNN interviewed him. You know, it's just a spiral effect, or I should say spiral, but it's the domino effect and the snowball effect, and it really helps. And you know, you only have that, like the old saying goes, you know, you only have one time to make that first impression. And you start off good, and then you're going to get that, you know, again, the snowball, and that's what's happening. And I think, again, it's so important. But I'll be honest with you, Mark, in the beginning, like I told you earlier, like I said earlier, you know, about this whole thing about appearing on the media is controlled and this and that. Screw that. If we can get on there, get on there. That's why when David Weiss showed up on InfoWars, before I was totally against it. But now I'm like, what? You want to just preach to the choir? We're not going to get anywhere. We'll be spinning wheels. So definitely the more you get on the mainstream media, and that's what I want to get to. I want to get
there
into
you go.
Appearances.
He's fine with people getting on mainstream media now, even CNN. It's fucking great if you can get on CNN. You see this little piece of shit, Russian Vids? He did the same thing. You all remember when he got doxxed and he left YouTube. And let me explain to you why he got doxxed and why he left YouTube. Because he put out a video calling IPS, and I believe it was Matt Powerlin, Masons. And, you know, he did his 33 thing and all that. And it showed you all that these guys are all part of the PSYOP. So, part of the COINTELPRO group. So, Russian videos, it just sold out. So anyways, he posted that video a long time ago on IPS and Matt Powerlin, calling them Masons and part of the programming and COINTELPRO operation. And immediately, Patricia, Mark, Bob, Jaron, many people jumped down Russian Vid's throat for putting that video out, because IPS was a great guy in their book at that time. And that's actually why I started doing videos, because I wanted to expose IPS since Russian Vids was no longer going to do it. His excuse was, I took down the video on IPS and Matt Powerlin because I heard they've been saying nice things about me. So all you have to do is say nice things about Russian Vids and he'll sell out. My guess, Russian Vids is a lower ranking Mason than Mark Sargent. So that's why they had Russian Vids do damage control this time. So let's move on to the next clip. The Mark talks about Jimmy Kimmel here, and that the guys at the Flat Earth International Conference gave him permission to do that skit. Let's listen.
So what I honestly didn't think that was going to run, and I don't think they were going to run it either, but there was a lot of things recently that were jogging their memory, including the most recent Golden Globe Awards. So Jimmy Kimmel asked to be there. he asked, could I send a team down there? And it's like, okay, I'm sorry, the conference guys were saying, okay,
No, Mark, you were saying okay too, because we all know damn well that Robbie Davidson said from now on he's going to clear with you guys if it's okay to send these people in. So Mark tripped up there, and he knew that Jimmy Kimmel was going to send a crew. And we're supposed to believe that Jimmy Kimmel was going to send a crew just to do interviews, because Jimmy Kimmel doesn't do hit pieces, All they had to do was type Jake Bird's name into fucking YouTube, and they would have seen he's part of Jimmy's crew. Never mind the way he was dressed with that fucking fake broken leg. You could see that thing was fake from a mile away. No clue this was going to happen. Let's listen.
That's fine. But what we didn't know, so he sent a 4-man team, a camera guy, a sound guy, a producer, and I can't remember what the other person did. The camera guy, sound guy, producer, and some other. Anyway, they had to send a 4-man team.
Yeah.
But there was a 5th guy. And the 5th guy, they snuck in under general admission. So the 4 guys came under media, right? They had to register as media. But the 5th guy, they had dress up in the parking lot, and he came in as general admission with a fake leg cast.
Yeah.
and he came in early on that first day, and he sat during my session, and he made sure he was the first person to ask a question. Heck, he even got a door prize. Because he asked.
You all made sure he was the first person to ask a question. Rick Hummer was over there laughing his ass off. And he knew he was being filmed at that time by the Jimmy Kimmel crew.
That's the first question. I know, go figure.
Yeah,
and I thought he was, I gave him benefit of the doubt, and I thought he was absolutely real. Because, come on, let's face it, when it comes to the conspiracy crowd, there's, he wasn't the weirdest I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I mean,
the stereotype, but how, greasy hair, don't comb the hair, don't take a shower, maybe show up with.
Yeah, I mean, he was wearing but he was wearing a lot of memorabilia. The cast was a little much, and so, but he started butting into. There was quite a bit of media there from different venues, and he started butting into other people's.
So there you go, bunch of fucking nonsense. They had no clue this was going to happen. Jimmy Kimmel doesn't do hit pieces. He does serious, in-depth, educational interviews on his show. And you're supposed to believe that. This is how stupid the people are that follow Mark Sargent, Patricia Steer, Russian Vids, and all the rest of the fucking clown show. This is how fucking stupid they think you are. No, they know you are. Because you're all fucking buying it. All right, let's go on to the next clip. Mark was happy with the segment because they used most of his interview. You've seen everything they showed of Mark Sargent. I showed you everything of Mark Sargent. They didn't show anything of his interview because they let Jake Beard come in and interrupt it all. Let's listen to Mark's nonsense here. And let me tell you something. There was a lot of trolling in Russian videos, chat, live stream. Rusted Souls even made mention a question because Mark was doing a lot of twerking with his face and a lot of silly-ass facial expressions like he always does. And Rusted Souls posted, "Meth much?" And I had noticed that for light being shining in his eyes, his pupils are pretty well fucking dilated. Do I think Mark does meth or coke? No, I think he does it the legal way and uses prescription medication. And I suspect Mark won't be around for maybe 2 more years tops before he just can't handle this anymore. Because it's becoming a load on him. All right, so let's listen some more.
Opening monologue. I mean, they went to commercial after this. I mean, it was a long monologue, and it was an interesting take. So to clarify, because they didn't if it was me, if I was doing that segment, I would have showed him kind of dressing up and putting on the fake cast, because they just had him go in. And there were some people that said, was he real? Was he not? No, and he was absolutely fake. He was not part of us in any way, shape, or form. He's just an actor, an infiltrator that works for Jimmy Kimmel. and he was hoping to stir things up and try to be as ridiculous as possible in a mocking way. But you know what? As far as the segment goes, I've seen worse.
We seen worse, like your sports bet app commercial. And you can all bet Patricia's mad at Mark Sargent for that sports bet app commercial too, because he allowed them to use a man dressed up as a woman looking a lot like Patricia Steere with these big old fake lips. And he allowed them to mock Patricia Steere and basically call her a tranny. So that's another thing that Patricia Steere is mad at Mark Sargent for. And all Flat Earth should be mad at Mark Sargent because he's trolled Flat Earth for the last fucking 6 years. Flat out trolled it and mocked it. And everything he's fucking done. Yet all these people just kiss his ass. Just kiss his ass straight up. Mark, you taste good. Fucking bullshit. Let's listen some more.
They let me talk. They could have chewed me up in editing, and they didn't.
They did. They didn't
and
let
they
you talk.
used a lot of the stuff I was talking about.
Use
I mean, they didn't go into my
anything you
speech,
talked
which was weird. They showed my opening line and my closing line, but for the most part, it was it ended pretty good. And if it makes people curious, and by the way, I think Jimmy's curious about the whole thing. I really, really do.
Trust me, it makes nobody curious. Go look at the comments section on that video. I'll provide the link down below. You'll be hard-pressed to find a flat earther in there. Out of thousands and thousands of comments, and it's probably up to 1 million views by now. The only thing growing in flat earth is the hate towards flat earthers. But yet every show this fucking cult does, they keep telling you, oh, flat earth is growing. It's growing. Oh, it might grow by 1 or 2 people a month here on YouTube. As far as viewers following you and falling for your nonsense. But the hate is 1 to a fucking 100,000. Using the media does no good. In fact, Rick Hummer will tell you that. Mr. Medium himself. I think there's a little bit more in this clip.
Because why run it? Why run it after all this time? And why make it 9 minutes long? Why not just take some shots and be done with it? So
well, what I find interesting, over the years, I've covered so much flat Earth, the topic of flat Earth over the years. And what I find interesting is you had Dave Chappelle make an appearance talking about flat Earth on Jimmy Kimmel. You had
yeah. And you also said that anybody on the media given a platform on these TV shows are part of the programming, Russian vids. But now you changed your mind because Mark Sargent and David Weiss are part of the same programming that you warned us about. Now it's like, oh, we could take the good with the bad. Russian videos. Do a video on anything good that comes out of the fucking media, since you said they do good and bad. A bunch of sellouts, man. All right. Many of you may know or may not know there's a lot of back and forth going on between Mark and Patricia. Supposedly they hate each other right now, and Russian Vids asks us about Patricia here. And we're almost done with this video. Let's have a listen.
Patricia and I currently aren't speaking, mostly because of the Denver incident with Logan Paul, because she expected that I was going to give her exclusive rights to the whole thing before it went down. And that's not a chance I was willing to take, because like with anything, if you want to keep a secret, you don't tell anybody. Period. 3 people. What's Ben Franklin saying? How do you keep a secret between 3 people? You kill 2 of them. you don't. That's his quote, and it's absolutely correct. Yeah. And that is, I would have told her And she would have told David or told Robbie, and the next thing you know, there's a freaking intervention in my room and they're not letting me get to my luggage. I didn't want that to happen. And I knew that she would try. And I asked her, I go, would you try to talk me out of it if I told you? And she was yes. I go, well, there he is. There's your answer right there. And I know she's a very particular woman. She wants things a certain way, and she wanted her award show to go a certain way. And I don't blame her for being mad. Now, holding a grudge when I was vindicated on the world stage by everyone, that's fine. You want to hold a grudge, you can hold a grudge.
Vindicated? You're not vindicated, Mark. You're guilty. Pure nonsense. All right, next clip. We only got a couple more now. Mark's got a warning to all flat earthers. You know, don't feed the trolls. He's the biggest fucking troll of flat earth. He's a Flat Earth Society Masonic member. And anybody that worships him is part of the Flat Earth Society, willing or unwillingly. That's why all the mocking by Mark Sargent and everything he does, every TV appearance he does is flat out mocking flat earthers and calling them fools. Like I said, the other thing Patricia's mad about is Mark Sargent doing that Australian sports bet app where they basically call Patricia a tranny. Let's listen to this clip.
But I understood her breaking away from YouTube, and the big thing is that she didn't follow one of the biggest rules of the internet, which is don't feed the trolls. Don't do it unless you know what you're doing. Unless you absolutely have the thickest skin ever, don't feed the trolls, because she was a triple threat. You know, there was a lot of things. You know, there was a lot of trolls that would want to go after her for various reasons. And she read every comment. A lot of people don't know that either. She read every single comment on her channel and sanitized them. If you wrote something bad about her, it wasn't going to stay up very long. She moderated her own channel to a microscopic degree. She even went to the point she became a moderator on my channel and asked me if she could like start sanitizing comments on mine. It's like, you realize I have over 1,000 videos now, right? And she goes, I don't care, because people were saying bad things about her in my comment section. Yeah. And she couldn't take it. And so during a particular...
She couldn't take it because she's a fucking narcissist. Narcissists can't handle criticism. Doesn't matter what it is. She wanted to remove it. All right, last two clips are from Mr. Dumbo himself, Rick Hummer. You know, the thug-looking guy that's supposed to be the host of Flat Earth International Conference. You know, it looked like he just fucking walked off the street out of a homeless camp. All right. Let's listen to Rick Hummer here as he says, it gives you a warning about the media. And keep in mind, Rick Hummer is part of the media. Rob Skiba, Mark Sargent prostitute the media. They use them to mock you. Let's listen to Rick Hummer's warning at this year's international conference.
The job of the mainstream media and the mainstream culture that we have today is to make you look like a moron. It's to make you look stupid, dumb, uninformed.
I mean, it's...
This clip comes from a guy's channel, Tau Zeta Alpha. I'll leave a link down below. He is a ball earther, and he's just using the material these guys are creating to make these guys look stupid. Would I say he's making Flat Earth look stupid? No, he's just using the material that these clowns are creating on purpose. So I will leave a link in the description down below. I'll also leave a link to the Jimmy Kimmel video. As many of you know, that clown Owen Benjamin showed up at the Flat Earth International Conference. Now keep in mind, the conference was basically a Christian fundamentalist gathering. All right? A lot of Christians, a lot of faith-speaking speakers, and all that stuff. All right? But yet they invite the vulgar, disgusting, foul-mouthed Owen Benjamin there to spew his garbage. I mean, nothing was funny. The guy I'm using this clip from, he plays some of the stuff that Owen said. He talks about vaginas, assholes, fucking homosexuals. You know, he talks about all kinds of things, and even admits that there's kids present at the conference, you know, because Robbie advertises this as a family event, but yet invites a foul-mouthed so-called comedian to the conference. Well, guess what happened? People were walking out of Owen Benjamin's show. Let's listen here.
I want to say an apology on my end. I had never seen, I didn't know what was going to be said last night. Some people have already come up to me today, and I had no idea. And I you know, Owen has been great on these podcasts and stuff, but if you got offended last night, I can understand on very much some of the things that were being said. I know that there are certain people that I watched walk out. They didn't understand. They didn't know what Owen was about, and
they didn't understand or know. He's even acting like he didn't understand or know what Owen's about. All you had to do was pick any fucking live stream on his channel, and you would see how disgusting and foul-mouthed he was, and what he was about. And that's why they invited him there, because they knew it was going to insult a bunch of flat earthers. That's why they invited Jimmy Kimmel there, because he knew they was going to mock flat earthers. Anybody that follows Mark Sargent, Rick Hummer, any of this fucking clown show, you're fucking sheep out at pasture. Have a good day, everybody.